ask you, what is the mom actually trying to prevent? Cervical cancer, right? Why would the daughter get cervical cancer from HPV? Because she's sexually active, okay? What is the effect of a sexually active, unmarried teenager? What's the effect on that person? Is it just cervical cancer? No. Is her mind affected? Is her body affected? Is her future affected? Whether or not she has cancer. Are you following? So while the public health message might be one that is very good to prevent cervical cancer, we have to be thinking even beyond this. Cervical cancer isn't the end of the story. Someone could be free of cervical cancer but lose eternal life. Are you following what I'm saying? So that mother, of course, these are models that are using that, right? But that mother who says, I will do anything to protect my daughter, should be thinking further than just HPV. And that's what we should be thinking about too. All right? Okay. So now let's go a little bit further. We know that sin happened, and this Edenic perfection was lost. Now the Bible has a word that is used that best describes that harmonious Edenic state. That Hebrew word is shalom. It means that everything is complete, everything is harmonious, there is nothing that is lacking. Everything is going the way it should. So when a Hebrew person met another one and they greeted one another, they said shalom. What it meant was, I wish for you everything that is good, everything that is perfect. I wish that you would be complete. Okay? What we are looking for and what Jesus Christ came to provide for us is shalom. One of the names of God is Jehovah Shalom, the God of, we say peace, but it's not just peace as we say it. It's completeness and harmony and everything working just right. So I want you to think about this shalom. And the greeting on Sabbath was not happy Sabbath. That's not what the Hebrews said. They said Shabbat Shalom. Because on those days, being as close as people were to God, it was as close as human beings could get to that perfection. Shabbat Shalom. So I am greeting you again today, Shabbat Shalom. And your response is Shabbat Shalom, right? Because I think you want to wish that for me too, right? Okay, thank you. All right. So, this Shalom is everything working right. But you know, we have to understand what can work right and what things cannot work right. Let me ask you, is it possible for someone to become spiritually right with God and therefore safe to be saved? Is that possible here on this earth? Yes or no? Yes. Okay? So the spiritual aspect of things, God has already taken care of that. Okay? He says, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ and you shall be saved. Okay. So he can work with that, right? Spiritually, we can become safe to be saved. Now, mentally, what goes on? Do you think that we can end up on this earth thinking totally correctly? Now, this is hypothetical. So what do you think? You think yes or no? Yes. All right. Jesus says, let this mind be in you. All right. He says, don't be transformed by this world, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Would he ask us to do something that was impossible to do? No. Okay. So, now I'm not dealing with perfectionism here, okay? So don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say. What I am asking is do you think that in God's economy, he has taken care of the mental aspect of human beings, that he can so work with our minds that we will be thinking like God? Yes, all right, good. Do you think that our characters, which is a mental issue as well, can be developed to become Christ-like? Yes. Okay? We're told that the thing that we're going to take to heaven is our characters, right? That's kind of like who we are, right? The computer program, right, for who we are, right? So if this is the case, then God has already taken care of that, in that, even though I am sure, pastors excluded, of course, even though I'm sure that none of us here can claim perfection in spiritual things and in mental things and in character, right? As I said, pastors notwithstanding, right? The thing is, we can understand that God says, I take care of that for you, right? So now we have to come to the idea of physical. Is there any indication in the Bible that we will be physically restored in this life? In this life? Huh? Is there any biblical evidence that we can be completely physically restored in this life? I hear no over here. Is there anyone who says yes? Physically restored in this life? Okay, for those of you who say yes, I have a question for you. When Jesus healed people, did they end up dying afterwards? So then they weren't totally taken care of. When he comes back, he says in the twinkling of an eye we will be changed, and this mortal will take on immortality. So when is that going to happen? When he comes back. All right? What do you think? Yeah, but we're going to die. And that's the point, right? We're going to die. Right? So the issue is, we have to ask, will we be totally physically cured of all ills, not to die on this earth? Well, you know, very interestingly, in the beginning, when Adam and Eve sinned, God made a very interesting statement. He said, let's put that angel there with the sword. Why? Lest they eat of that tree and live forever. Okay? So God does not want us to live forever in this state with sin. Make sense? All right. What else? We know that after sin, that there was a curse upon the land. Now what changed? Plants and vegetation. How about the animals? How about the ground? How about the human? Everything changed. You got the idea? Sin tainted everything. Apparently it didn't change the tree of life. And it certainly didn't change God, right? But all of the other things were changed. The animals were changed. You know, when we read that cursed above every creature, right, is the serpent. It's above every creature. It means that every creature also was cursed. Are you following me? The ground, right, would no longer yield the way it would. The ground changed. The plants, they changed. Thorns and thistles, they produced. The woman, her physiology changed. Her genetics changed. Because in pain, she was going to bring forth labor. And her desire would be to her husband. You get what I'm saying? Things changed. Adam no longer would be able to have a life of pleasant work. He had to sweat. By the sweat of his brow will he eat bread. Are you following what I'm saying? So everything that we know, that we see today, have been changed because they've been tainted by sin. And God says He'll put an end to this. When? When He comes back. What's going to happen to the earth? All right, this earth will pass away, and a new heaven and a new earth will be created. You get what I'm saying? One in which there is no sin, no taint of sin. Are you following what I'm saying? All right. Now, how do we heal or take care of our bodies? Well, we need to know that we are bags of chemicals. Are you aware of that? We're all chemistry. We're all biochemistry. We're bags of chemicals. Where do the chemicals come from? From the trees and from the ground and from the air, right? This is where it comes from. And all of these things have been tainted by sin. Okay? Whether we use an herb or we use a medication, which power is it that gives it the power to heal? God. Okay? But we know that that healing will never be complete. Because it's appointed every man wants to die, and then the resurrection. So we have a responsibility to do the best we can under these circumstances. The living know that he will die, but the dead knows nothing. We're supposed to be postponing that death or funeral. Okay? That's what we're supposed to be doing. Why? Ellen White talking about that, she said because our work has not yet been done. In other words, we live long not just to enjoy a long healthy life, but we live long to serve. We'll be more useful. Think about that. We shouldn't be putting our old people away. No. They now have all that experience. We should be employing that, right? And the enemy knows that. So what is he doing? He's destroying the elderly by destroying the most valuable thing that they have, their minds. Alzheimer's. Strong bodies, weak minds. But there is hope. Ladies and gentlemen, I read in Revelation, no more death, no more crying, no more sorrow, no more sickness. Those old things pass away. I look forward to a new heaven and a new earth that was not made with human hands, but by God Himself. And there, we are told, we will reign with Him forever and ever and ever. How do you want to be there? It does involve some doing and some don'ting. I'm sorry, that's how it is. Not to be saved, but because we are saved. We live this way because of who we are. Dogs bark. Why? Because they're dogs. We don't find a dog mooing. Amen? Christians then should act like Christians the way dogs act like dogs. And God says He is willing to make it so if we would yield to Him. Surrender to our self-determination. Because in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve were not made independent. They were made dependent on God. The independent spirit, there's only one person, one being who actually originated that idea. And that was the archenemy himself. He wanted to be independent. I wish I had some time to talk about cancer and the relationship of how when we look at the science of cancer, how it parallels the issue of sin. But that's another time. 5 minutes of it, okay. A cell that is cancerous does not listen to the instruction of the body. Did you know that? That cell becomes rogue. All right? Under normal circumstances, every cell works for somebody else. Okay? The functions of cells and in all of our organs and systems is to work for somebody else. The cancer cell works for himself. Under normal circumstances, our cells know up to here and no more. Otherwise, when we're healing, we'd grow, right? Or we'd be continuing to get taller and our teeth would probably, you know. I tell you, it'll be really something. But when we have cancer, those cells do not respect stop. Okay? Guess what? It's the same situation with sin. We know no bounds. We are rogue. We don't listen. We don't stop. But the problem works itself out in a certain way. You see, cancer is not very smart. You see, a cancer that is very aggressive moves ahead and kills the host. Isn't that right? And when the host dies, what happens to the cancer? Smart, huh? I mean, a smart cancer will keep the host alive so that it can thrive. This is the end of sin. Sin will burn itself out. It cannot survive. No wonder God can say, no more, never more will sin appear. Never more. Because it will burn itself out. And he has prepared a lake of fire for the devil and his angels. But there are some of us who kind of like the heat. So we're trying to go there. And he's saying, that was not made for you. Please, don't go there. His arms are outstretched today. He pleads with us, don't go there. He doesn't give us these things to grieve us and to hurt us. Deuteronomy chapter 30, God says, I am not giving you these things to hold you at bay. I'm not asking you to do something that is out of sight. I am telling you what is there. It's at hand, and I have given it to you. So choose today life, that's what he says. You and your household, that you might live. God is pleading with us to live. He does not have any pleasure in the death of the wicked. On the contrary, what he wants is to save us all. That whoever, even though we're rebellious and we're against him, he wants to save us. And he has done everything for that to happen. So when we turn our backs on him, we're turning our backs on the best offer in the whole universe. And so one day, when he comes back, he's going to ask us, what have you done with the free gift that I have given you? And my question to you today is, what will it take to get us to regard this with the importance that it should be regarded? What will it take? And the other question, of course, is, what's the downside? Is there any downside here? Okay. So you suffer for a few weeks, months, years, and live for eternity in bliss? I mean, if you put that on a scale, no comparison. So today, if you hear my voice, Harden not your hearts. Yield. And let God do for you what only He can do, so that you will be able to do what only you can do. Amen? God bless you.
Praise the Lord, friends. Indeed, you have gotten some things that you can't pay for and things that you should pray for. It's important for us to look at these concepts. Sin is like cancer. Very good analogy. All right, we're going to open the floor for 2 questions before we have our health professionals going to another location, as we have our meeting with our Adventist health professionals, health educators, medical missionaries, etc. So we take 2 questions. See one hand over here, one hand there. So those 2 questions we'll take right now. All right, stand to your feet and identify yourself. Yeah, brother? Brother Brooks. Which conference? I can give him the mic. Let the folks in here. All right, we'll just take 2 questions here because we have to close here. And Pastor West will come and do health evangelism. Then we have the other presentation.
Nobody's up there.
All right. All right, I'm going to ask him to come. Come right here. All right, just come right here, ask the question right here. Take your seat. We'll answer you as best as possible. Only 2 questions right now because of time. All right, come right here. Just say who you are, what conference, and a question related to the presentation, of course.
I'm from Signum Seventh-day Adventist Central Jamaica Conference. The question I want to ask, any other main reason for cervical cancer apart from highly sexual? Could you share it with me, please?
Yes, the current evidence is that female cervical cancer is caused by an infection by a virus, and that virus is the human papillomavirus. And the main mode of transmission of the human papillomavirus is through sexual intercourse. Okay, so that's how it is. Now, it does not mean that someone cannot have cervical cancer from something else. But if you find somebody with cervical cancer today and they have human papillomavirus present, we say that is the cause. All right?
Thank you. Good afternoon. I noticed that between this morning's, I'm Margaret Lewis. I'm from East Jamaica Conference, right here at Mandeville Church.
Okay.
I noticed in your delivery this morning and also your delivery this afternoon, you spoke about harmony, completeness. And then this afternoon it was curious, you said, when you started to discuss harmony and completeness, you said something that caught my attention. You said, but I'm not talking about perfection. What do you mean?
Okay. I will have the record show that I did not say I am not talking about perfection. What I said is I'm not talking about perfectionism. That is what I said. Okay, you heard perfection. All right. That's okay, that's okay. But I'm careful about what I say because people will assume that if I say something that this is the official position of the church or something like that. So I have to be careful, all right? If I misspoke, I am sorry. What I meant was perfectionism. Perfectionism is an idea that people in this life can become perfect. Okay? Now, this is debated in the church, and I did not want to get into that debate. That's why I said I am not talking about perfectionism. We're talking about the idea. Is it possible that God would have taken care of our spiritual well-being? And the answer to that is obviously yes. Is it that he wants for us to have a character that is like his? And the answer to that is yes. And if it were not possible for us to have a character like his, it would be impossible for us to say that he wants us to attain that character, and that that character is what will be forever, right? So there's an issue there that we have to deal with. And I don't know where the sister went. Sister Lewis, where is she? Yes. So I did not mean to cause a problem. I just wanted to clarify that I'm not going to get into theological discussion. I just wanted us to reason together. All right? Thank you. Okay. Now hold on. I am at the beck and call of the organizers. I was told 2 questions. We got 2 questions. You know, where I come from, we count to 1, 2. Maybe in Jamaica they count it differently, right? So who's next?
All right, if you have a final question, we'll allow that to happen. We have Brother Stevenson, all right, and a sister at the back there too. I think we'll allow those 2. Pastor will give us some of his time, but we want you to get the topic, health evangelism is crucial, and he will bring in some of the health expo too, because we're moving forward with all these health projects for 2019, and we're starting even from now, and we want to impact Jamaica in a mighty way. So you must know how to do health evangelism, health expo, and impact the lives of individuals. And when they see that we care about them, they say people don't care how much we know unless they know how much we care. Thank you.
Okay. In terms of Elijah and Enoch, what would you say about perfection when it comes to them? Elijah was taken alive, Enoch was taken out.
Okay. I would say that God, who knows the hearts of these men and who were special appointees of his, he took care of them. What else can I say? Right? So what is your name? Is it Enoch or Elijah? Both. Enoch is his first name and Elijah is his second name. Yes, his middle name. Yes, ma'am.
Actually a question. It's just endorsing what you say. Spiritually, mental, character-wise. It's achievable. Job was a perfect man. God said he was. Enoch was perfect, or else God would not take him, so that he would be not. I think our problem is we are measuring ourselves with ourselves rather than measuring with Jesus Christ. And if he says, give me your heart and I will give you my Father's kingdom, it's achievable. All his biddings are enabling.
Amen. Thank you, sister.
All his biddings are enablings. All right, I think we can close on that point. All right, give us the mic.
I've been smoking from an early age, yet they don't die with cancer. Some would say, so and so have been smoking, or so and so have been eating jerk chicken or jerk whatever, jerk, and yet still, they're not dead. What would you, and I drink rum, what do you say about that?
All right, Doc?
The rain and the sun affect the just and the unjust. What we are living in, many people think that we're living in God's world, and we're not. We're living in Satan's territory, right? And within that context, we have no control. So we have smokers who live to 95 and 100 years of age. And we have people who have never smoked and they have lung cancer at 35. And we can't explain that. All we can say is this: the ultimate cause of sickness and death is sin. And we live in a sinful world, and this is what happens.
All right. Thank you so much, friends. We are making a transition right now. We'll have the health professionals, health educators, medical missionaries from the various conferences. We'll meet upstairs at the primary section. You go around the back and you go up 3 steps right up there in the upper room. All right, as we come together and pray like never before, and we'll talk like never before, heart to heart. Pastor Francis West, who is a trained lifestyle educator from Wildwood, will teach you the topic, health evangelism. We'll ask him questions, and then we have special presentation at the end on the prevention and reversal of diabetes. He will introduce the speaker, Dr. Morgan, who will share on that topic. So I invite you now to stand to your feet as we ask Pastor Leonard, Isaiah, Jeremiah Steele to pray.
Don't give me a new name, Ellen, not here. All right, let's pray. Father, we thank you for the blessings we have received from your bountiful hands from morning until now. We thank you, Lord, for the presentation that you have given to your manservant, Dr. Zeno. We pray, oh God, that you will help us, that as we assimilate these things, that your Holy Spirit will help us to retain them and to put them in practice. As we go into another phase of the program, we ask, Lord, that you'll open our minds and our understanding, and may everything be done to your name's honor and glory. Is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, and as we are getting ready to make a transition, you need to note that the balanced approach that you have heard from God's servant, we take with the health message, comprehensive health ministries, we call it. So the new parlance for medical missionary, the new name that we are branding even from GC is comprehensive health ministries. You're a comprehensive health ministerial person as we move forward. We want to get acquainted with that term, and of course everything we do, we're not extremists. On one hand we're way up there, on the other hand we're way down there. We take a balanced approach as we look at lifestyle changes, as we look at prevention, and as we look at reversing conditions. So you must know that as church members, we're not legalistic, we're not far-seek, but we are balanced people that approach things from a rational point of view, evidence-based, and we move forward trusting God to work through all these remedies. God bless you. Have a happy, holy evening in Jesus' name. Health professionals, we go upstairs in the upper room. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pastor. In all the health professionals, medical missionary, we are going upstairs to the left. You just follow suit as we prepare for our presentation, how to do health evangelism in the 21st century, and we are looking at Jesus's healing ministry. Let me begin by showing you a picture. Next slide. Now, here's a picture you are seeing on your screen. Can you see the screen here? Right. There's a picture. There are some young persons there. This is the class that I was a part of in doing health evangelism. And there we have persons from all over the world. There were students from West Germany, from Russia, from Brazil, Chile, from the United States of America, from Venezuela, from all over the world that you can think of, coming together to do health evangelism. And of course, we left out a very important country, Jamaica. I was there and another young lady. We all met together. We had a wonderful time. And what I was mostly blessed by was that they were very young persons who were there. They were very young. The youngest of them, 17 years of age, going to 18. They were all young. They won to go and do missionary work for the Lord. They want to do. So let's look at health ministry now. Let's go to the next slide. Right? Now, the World Health Organization says that there are 10 threats to global health in 2018, and I won't list all of them for time. I won't list all of them, but there are a few of them that we need to be concerned about. One of them, right, one of them is food poisoning. And what they're saying is that there are going to be a lot of recall in the meat industry because many persons will die from this. That's one of the things that we need to be concerned about. And there's the picture at the bottom of the food industry and what is happening in the food industry, particularly the meat industry. Another one that they says we have to be careful of is cholera, and that there will be a pandemic flu outbreak. No, they have listed these. They are saying going into 2019, these are going to be major health concerns globally, which means all over the what? The world. Let's go to the next slide. Let's go to the next slide. But I believe in Exodus 15 verse 26. And this is where we're going to use for our main passage, right? To go into our health presentation. I believe in this. Can you read with me Exodus 15 26? And what does it say? And said what? If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of who? And wilt do that which is in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these what? Diseases upon thee. Do you believe that? Do you really believe that? Or is the scripture for that time? God says, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. I believe this, and God wants us to embrace this truth. So let's move to the next slide quickly because of time. Right? Now, listen what Ellen G. White says. Right? Listen what she says. Testimony is Testimony is page 306. I'm not seeing it clearly. I should have put a different writings there. One of the very first things that we must do as Christians to ourselves and to our fellow neighbors is to obey the laws of God. Our first duty is to obey the law of, which includes the laws of what? It includes the laws of health. What is the first duty for every Christian? To obey the laws of, which we hold to ourselves and to our neighbors. We are to obey the laws of God, and this includes the laws of, so you cannot separate them. It also includes the laws of health. You cannot separate them. Let's go again. Next slide. Function of health ministry. What is the function of health ministry then? Here it is. Health ministry is believed to be the right hand of the gospel. It works in collaboration with other ministries within the church to effectively herald the three angels' message and the message of health. Next slide. Next slide. What are the key objectives when we do health ministry? What are the key objectives? One, to make Christ known by ministering to the physical, mental, and spiritual needs of the church and the community. That's the key objective for health ministry. Secondly, the goal for each member and for the community is to be healthy, happy, and what? And holy. This echoes the message of 3 John 2. Beloved, above all things, I wish that thou may what? And be in, even as thy soul. That's health ministry then. For us to be healthy, happy, and holy. Matthew 9 verse 35. Will you read with me? Matthew 9:35 on the screen. And Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in there and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing every what? Sickness and every disease among the. So Jesus did not only preach nor teach, he did what else, everybody? He healed. Now, inspired directives from Manuscript Release, Volume 5, page 134. Now, on the screen it says medical missionary work is to be closely connected with the ministry of the what? The word. bound up with the third angel's message, the last message of mercy and warning to be given to a guilty world. The work of health reform is to be bound up with the gospel. These cannot be separated, for God has done what? He has united them. We cannot separate the preaching of the gospel from the work of health reform. They must be united together. When these parts of the work are carried forward and correct lines, the third angel's message will be given in accordance with God's purpose. Next slide. Next slide. Now, why health ministry? Why do we do health ministry? It's an important question that every health practitioner and every member of the church should ask. Why health ministry? Here it is. Number one, to inspire a healthy and spiritually balanced life. 3 John 2. That's why we do health ministry. To inspire a healthy and spiritually balanced lifestyle. Number 2, to restore our bodies to become a living. Does God want us to give dead sacrifices? What did he say? That we must present our bodies what? A living sacrifice. That's why we do health ministries then. To restore our bodies to become a living sacrifice. Number 3, to motivate taking care of mind, body, and spirit as God's. Your body is the what? The temple. Therefore, we do health ministry to motivate ourselves in taking care of our mind, our body, and spirit as God's temple. To incorporate a variety of healthy activities and principles to achieve optimal health. 1 Corinthians 10 verse 31, whatsoever we do, whatsoever we eat or drink, we must do all to the glory of God. Now, motivation for health ministry. And I find this interesting when I was doing this research in some of the things. Now, to give new life to the sick complements the gospel presentation theologically and practically. Notice the presenter said that we must practice the things that we learn. Are you with me? We must practice them. This is the motivation for health ministry. It complements theologically the gospel and practically. The Council of Ellen White mandates health education and a healing ministry as an essential partner with the three angels message. Churches, and this is a research from the Adventist side, churches which offer need-based health ministries as part of a well-rounded church growth program, they grow. In other words, the General Conference is saying, based on their research, churches that incorporate health reform, they grow. Those churches grow. And you'll see this in the book Natural Church Development. Churches which offer health ministries are themselves what? Healthier spiritually and what? Physically. Churches that offer health ministries are physically and spiritually healthier, provided that they avoid the pitfall of fanaticism. Now, Counsels on Health, page 434. Read with me. When what, everybody? When what, everybody? Properly conducted, the health work is what is then the health work? It's a what? An entering wedge, making a way for other truths to reach when the third angel's message is received in its fullness, health reform will be given its place in the councils of the conference. She says, carefully, when the third angel's message is received in its fullness, health reform will be in the conference. But not just the conference, will be in the work of the what? The churches will promote health reform when the third angel's message is received in its fullness. But not just the churches, whereas in the home, members will begin to practice health reform in their home if they really believe in the third angel's message. But not just the home, at the table. So it also represents how we eat as well, at the table and in all the what, everybody? The household arrangement. Then the right arm will serve and protect the what? Health reform. One more. Medical missionary work is the right hand of the gospel. Medical missionary work is the right hand of it is necessary to the advancement of the cause of God. Now, as through it men and women are led to see the importance of right habits of living, the saving power of the truth will be made known. Every city is to be entered by workers trained to do medical missionary work. As the right under the third angel's message, God's method of treating disease will open doors for the entrance of present truth. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? Well, I'm a witness for that. Look at the next slide. I'm a witness. Remember the last statement. When we practice this, it will open hearts to receive additional truth of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Now, here are 3 students that studied with me. The one to my right, to your left, is the one I want you to be concerned with. She has in her hand trust in God, right? Her name is Bezawit. She's from Ethiopia. Now, Bezawit got very sick. She has 2 masters. She is an executive. She works the top company in Ethiopia. But she got very, very sick. And she tried all the medical doctors, but she got worse. So she heard about Wildwood, and she came to Wildwood. Now, Bezawit is also a Christian. Committed Christian, but not a Seventh-day Adventist. She is a strong leader in her church, but she came to Wildwood, and when she came to the center, right, that deals with helping these persons through lifestyle changes, our lifestyle center, I was there as the chaplain, and she would engage me, and I did not know that she was not a Seventh-day Adventist. I thought she was. And we would be in many sessions, and she discovered that I will be studying at the school. And so she says, look, I'm interested. I want to study. This institution have helped me so much in my health. I could not get healing from the doctors in Ethiopia. But when I came here and went through the program, I'm experiencing health. I want to come and study. And she found out that I was going to study, so I encouraged her and shared with her how to apply and what to do, and she joined us and she became a student. There she is. But listen what happened now. She not only came to study, she now said she wants to know the truths of the Adventist Church. And so now we assigned 2 pastors to study with her on all the truths of the 3 angels' message. And what was her prayer before she left? She said she wants her husband and her children to know the Adventist truth. When we show that we are intelligent in helping people with health, they will want to know the truths of the Adventist Church. That's Ellen G. White, and I believe it because I experienced it right there in Wildwood. Right? Next slide. Next slide. Much of the prejudice that prevents the truth of the third angel's message from reaching the hearts of the people might be removed if more attention was given to health reform. Most of the prejudices that we have with many churches, she says, will be removed if the Adventist Church give more attention to what? Health reform. If we give more attention to health reform, the prejudices around will be removed. But she doesn't stop. When people become interested in this subject, the way is often prepared for the entrance of the truth. That's Ellen G. White, right? Counsels on Health, page 452, right? If they see, next slide, if they see that we are intelligent, with regards to what? To health, they will be more ready to believe that we are sound in Bible doctrine, right? This branch of the work has not received due attention. Through this neglect, much has been lost for the church. Because many of us as members don't give attention to health reform, must have been lost. Much have been lost. She said, if the church will manifest a greater interest in the reforms, not just health reform, but she says in the reforms that God has given the church, through which God himself is seeking to fit them for his coming, their influence will be far greater. Do you believe that, my brothers and sisters? Do you believe that, my brothers and sisters? I do believe that. Right? Look at this now. Read with me on the screen, everybody. Ministry of Healing, page 127. Read with me. What does it say? Pure here, sunlight, and then what? Abstemiousness, rest,
exercise, proper diet, the use of what? Trust in divine power. These are the what? These are the true remedies. Every person. How many persons? The pastor? The doctors? The pastor, the doctors, or the health professionals? What did she say? Every person, which means every member of the church, should have a knowledge of nature's remedial agencies and how to do what? Apply them. Every member should know, right? It is essential both to understand the principles involved in the treatment of the sick and to have a practical training that will enable one rightly to use this knowledge. Next slide. Next slide. I'll go quickly. Now, when I came back here in Jamaica, I was interested in, I saw this newspaper clipping and I took this from it, right? And the question was asked by Dr. Perkins, who did a training at Grace Kennedy. She asked the question, will Jamaica recover from this moral disease that we are in? Are we in a moral disease? Are we? And she asked the question, will Jamaica recover from this moral disease? Do you know that the Adventist Church is the one to help with that? Do you know that? Because we have already counsel from God, if there is a moral disease, what should be our work? Our first work. Let's read what she says. Right, let's read. Counsels and Health, page 501. If we would elevate the what? There's a moral disease. If we would elevate the moral standard in any, so in Jamaica as well, where we may be called to go, we must begin by correcting their what? So what should we work with? Health. If we are going to help the people with their moral struggles, we must start by teaching them health. We must begin. Why? Because you cannot separate health from how the people are behaving. You can't. We have the message. We know what to do. We can't be sitting around and say, boy, Jamaica is in this problem and this. We, the Adventist Church, have the message, right, in how to help these people. Virtue of character depends upon the right action of the powers of the mind and body. Next slide, right? Now, when I was at Wildwood, right? When I was at Wildwood, they believe that Wildwood is doing excellent in sending out medical missionaries all over the world, but they didn't believe that they were doing well in their community. And so the pastor sat and they did a survey, right? They conducted a survey because they now wanted to go and impact their community, because they were sending out medical missionaries all over the world, but they're saying they need to impact where they are. So when they did the survey, now next slide, right? Many of the things came back, right? And I'm going to share with you some things. I'm going to share with you some things that I did when I was there, I was a part of when I was there, and what I saw with my own eyes really worked in health evangelism, right? But I'm going to share with you Testimony Volume 9 for the church, right? As a means of overcoming prejudice and gaining access to minds, medical missionary work must be what? It must be done. Are you with me, everybody? Medical missionary work must be done. Not in one or two places only, but in many places where the truth has not yet been proclaimed. We are to work as gospel medical missionaries to heal the sin-sick soul by giving them the message of salvation. This work will break down prejudice as nothing else will do. If we want to break down the prejudices all around us, she says medical missionary work is the work to do. Right? The mission, health ministry, is committed to promoting optimal health, levels of health to men, women, and children in our church and the surrounding community by educating them on ways to prevent disease and ways to effectively manage existing health conditions. That's why our ministry is to educate, to educate, to educate. Which is better, healing physically or healing of the soul? Which is better? Huh? Healing of the what? Physically or healing of the soul? Healing of the soul. That's why our work, God has not given us the miracles. He has given us a message to teach people how to prevent diseases. That's our message. That's what medical missionary work is all about, to educate, to teach people. And the church goes out now and teach the community these things to make the community a better place. Right? That's our work. Next slide. Health ministry offers a variety of wellness programs, activities that promote abundant health. The study of the biblical principles and spirit of prophecies, counsels on health and temperance are encouraged, as well as the practice of principles in healthful living. The programs are an ongoing witness of the benefits of making healthy lifestyle choices. Next slide. Next slide. I'm just going to share with you quickly some keys to success, then I move along. Keys to success in health ministry. Number one is to unite with the church leadership. We cannot do it by ourselves. We must unite with the church leadership, right? Create a clear mission and vision statement, and then we build a team of like-minded individuals. Right? Next slide. Next slide. I want to go quickly. Right? But this is important. This is important. Consistent health presence. Why? If we are going to follow Jesus' method of mingling, we can't just have things as an event, where all we do, we have a one program and that's it. There must be a consistent presence. So we cannot no longer think about class, we must think of a club. We must have ongoing programs of health, interacting with the community. It must be ongoing if we are going to mingle with people and help them through their situations. But most times how we normally do it in Jamaica is that we just have a health expo and that's it. Then we do have a crusade and that's it. Am I right? That's how we normally do it, but not so with health ministry. Right? Next slide. Next slide, I'm going quickly. We must have a spiritual emphasis in the work of medical missionary work. Next slide, quickly. Right? We must be loving and we must be a lovable Christian. Do you remember what Pastor Dr. Charles said this morning? That we must be loving. This is what God calls us to be, a loving, lovable people. Right? He says, greater love hath no man that a man laid down his life for what? But he laid down his life for us when we were his enemies. So he's teaching us what real love is. If we just love those who love us, we don't really experience God's love yet. We must love even those who do what? Hate us and despitefully use us. We must be loving and lovable Christians in everything that we do. Right? Next slide as I run along quickly to allow the presenter. Now this is what I want to share with you now. I told you what I saw work, and I'm going to share them with you what churches, I believe, in Jamaica need to start doing. This is a health expo that we had for children. I've never seen one while I was here in Jamaica. We normally just have health expo, but we had one just for children. Everything was planned for children, right? All the banners were done child-friendly, right? We had at each booth nutrition, exercise. We will be teaching the children from a young age God's plan of health. And we always have a lot of children coming to them when we have them. And we are training them. We would go into communities and we will set up and the place would be packed. And when the children come, who's going to come with them? You see, you get it. So you will always have a lot of people if you have a child health expo, because the parents are not going to come without their children. And it always works. We carry them through exercise. They will have skipping rope. They are doing fun activities, and then we are teaching them about importance of exercise. They will go to the year boot, and we will allow them to blow balloons, and then we'll teach them about the importance of breathing properly. We'll be teaching them a lot of things on health. They will be at the water booth, and we'll be teaching them the importance of drinking water. We'll show them what will happen with their health if they don't drink enough water. We are teaching them health from a young age. This is very important that our church recognizes that we must target our children. It has been too long that we have been doing health expos and we do it only for our adults. Are you with me, everybody? But here is a powerful one that really worked for the children. The health expo, right? Many persons are used to us doing the health expos, but when we do it here, while that's taught us how to do it, we do it with the 8 laws of health. So the first thing that we do when we do the health expo is that we will have a registration booth. Right? We'll have a registration booth, and all the persons who are interested, we will register them, we will take their height, we'll take their weight, and then we will direct them to the nutrition booth. Why the nutrition booth, the first booth? Because there we begin to take their BMI. We begin to look at their body mass index to see whether or not they have too much fat. Now, listen carefully, this may alarm you. You may be very slim, yet you have too much fat in your body. Because your weight doesn't tell you that you have too much fat. That's why it is important to do the BMI, so you will know whether or not you have too much fat. Right? Because you can be so slim that you have a lot of fat on your body. Right? And the BMI now, in the nutrition book now, we begin to guide the person through a plant-based meal and healthy lifestyle. We move from the nutrition booth and we go to another booth, right? You see the nutrition booth, then we take them to another booth, which we move into sunlight, right? Sunlight, oh, so important, but many persons do not benefit from it. So we share with them the benefits of sunlight. We take them through that booth, right? And we allow them to take their blood pressure. Now, the normal one, according to the World Health Organization, is 120/80. Now, one person came there when we were doing this one time, and we had a medical doctor in our team, and that person was 200 and something over 100 and something. What do you think we have to do? We have to rush them to the hospital because they're on the border of a heart attack or something serious. It's important when you do these things, right? Very important. Right? Then we move from the sunlight, we have what we call the exercise boot. Right? And the exercise boot now, we are testing their heart rate. Right? We allow them to do an exercise on a step test. We take their pulse before they do that. Then we take their pulse when they are doing that, after they have completed the exercise. Then we allow them to rest for 5 minutes, and we take their pulse again to see how quickly their heart rate goes back to a normal resting one. And that will tell us how healthy their heart is and how strong they are, right? So we do simple things, and then we guide them through the importance of exercise. All these boots are very, very important. Air, right? Fresh air. All these boots. Temperance. There are many persons who are above their correct age. When we have this boot, we tell you exactly what your health age is. So you may be 40, but you may have a body of a 60-year-old. When we go to this boot now, we tell you exactly what your health age is. So if we do your health age, when you come to the temperance boot, and this is very important for all Adventists, because this is going to tell you whether or not you are sick and how long you may live. Are you with me? When you go into this boot, it may tell you how long you have. Because if you're 40 and you have a body of 60, that means your lifespan, you're going to die soon. Are you with me? Are you with me? But if we take you through this boot now, we take you through a lifestyle change, you can change that, right? And this is why this boot is important. This is not just doing it the way we normally do it. This is taking you through God's plan of healing, and then we counsel you and guide you so you will have a better way of appreciating the following, these simple plans for your health. Temperance. It's important that you go through this. Let me just take you quickly before I run, because I have another presenter. Yes, and persons who are 60 could have the body of a, because they practice certain principles. Now, when we do our health expo, December 16, we will be guiding persons through these things and helping them to change certain areas of their life if we find out that they are not where they are in terms of their health age. Right? Let me run to the next slide quickly, and I'm coming down. This one is important. Wherever the truth is preached, every church should teach their members how to cook healthy. Every church should be teaching their members how to cook healthy. Are you with me, everybody? Why? Because health reform is an important work of the message. Right? And we must not allow members to say they can't do that. We must provide it for them, let them not come. But we must do what? Provide it for our members in teaching them how to cook healthy. Right? Next slide. Here's another one that we did. no, this really worked. It really, really worked. We had what we call cooking class for. No, I don't hear it when I was here. We normally have cooking classes and we do it for adults, but I looked at it and I said, whoa, this is powerful. We had cooking class for children. And look at the things that we did when we did the cooking class for children. Let me go to the next slide and I'll show you quickly what we did. Next slide. Here we did a mac and cheese. And how we did it, right? We did it and then we taught the children the story of Esther. And they were excited because we were creative when we did it, right? Notice how we did it. Like here we used everything to be creative while we are teaching them how to cook, and then we are teaching them Bible truth. But look at this other one that we did, right? Next slide, right? Next slide. There now we did some tuna salad. That is what we had tofu. We took the cucumbers, we have the little tomatoes, and we made little boats. And then we told them the story of Paul during the storm. They are excited when they begin to see that. They are a part of it, and then we are telling them the story of Paul. It's exciting. What we can do in teaching children how to live healthy while we teach them Bible principles. Cooking class for children, right? But look at this other one that we did, right? Look at this other one. Then we did this one with the bread and vegetables inside. They're all excited when they're doing this. And then we're teaching them the story of Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. Right? You see how we can bring health ministry to our children and they are excited about it, and then we're teaching them Bible? That's what we are, the cooking class for children. Next slide. Next slide. Let me run quickly. Next slide. Next slide. This one, sugar-free desserts cooking class, Sunday, May 7, 3 to 5 p.m. You see, what while we did right there was to have these cooking classes where they are teaching people how to do sugar-free desserts that they can enjoy, right? And these are things that we can do as well, right? Cooking class delivered. This is the one that I really love, and I'm going to close to give the next presenter time. There are some other things, but this is the one that I really, really loved because it opened many doors. And I'm going to share a testimony with you. It opened doors. Cooking class delivered is simple, where we train our church members and they now go to the homes of people and teach them how to do the best meals. Right? So when we are doing cooking class delivers, we must have a recipe demonstration with sample meals. Right? And then we must have recipes. The recipes must be simple, tasty, familiar dishes with common ingredients. Right? And we must always have a budget towards it when we are doing cooking classes delivered. Let me run quickly again. Let me run to the next slide. Next slide quickly. That's one of the flyers that while we did to invite persons of the community to their cooking class delivered. Next slide. I'm going to show you how it opened many doors. Right? This are some of the students. We began to do the training as we were going into the homes of persons. And look at me now. We did 6 recipes in 1 hour and 20 minutes when we went into people's home. 6 different recipes. Right? Let's go quickly again. Let's go. Here you see now it's opening door. We are going into the homes of people. We did the survey. We did the survey and find out what they wanted, and they said they wanted us to teach them how to cook healthy. So what did we do? While we trained us, the students, and then we went into the homes of the people who said they wanted to learn how to cook healthy. Right? And it's began to open doors. Here we are in the homes of persons, right? And we are teaching them how to cook healthy. But while we are teaching them to cook healthy, we are teaching them about the Advent message. Right? But look at the next slide. Not just one home, another home. Students, again, we're going into the homes of people, teaching them how to cook healthy. Right? This opened many doors in America that were closed before. Because when we did the survey, we found out that the people wanted to learn how to cook healthy. So what did we do? We trained the persons within, and we send them to go to the person's home, right? This opened many doors. And let me share you another testimony. We went to Texas. My group went to New Jersey. And when we went to Texas, 1 week, we stayed at the church for 1 week. where we train the members of the church health evangelism. We train them on the 8 laws of health. We train them how to do nutrition. We train them how to do massage. We train them how to do cooking class delivered. And while we were training them how to do cooking class delivered, there was one visitor that came with us. Meaning that we went to an Adventist church, but there was one person who was not an Adventist. And that person came to every single training, non-Adventist. When we were finished with the training and the persons were finished with the training, that person came to the coordinator and asked if Wildwood can come to their church this next year, 2019, April. And Wildwood said, we will look into it. And they said, we have a membership of over. Guess. Make a guess. Huh? 2,000. Someone make another guess. 1,000. Someone make another guess. Huh? 3,000? 5,000? Oh, you're all close. They have a mega church and their membership is over 10,000. And so Wildwood is now planning to go to a church of over 10,000 to train them in health missionary. Does God mean what he says, that it is an opening wedge? Does God really mean it? If the church begin to practice it more and learn it more, how many barriers will it break down? How many doors will it open? God is true in what he says. He means it. It opened the door. When I was leaving and my wife, they were meeting now to see how are they going to go, and they discussed it at their church meeting, promoted it, that how they're going to go April 2019 now to minister to over 10,000 people in health ministry. My brothers and sisters, as I close, I said there are more things, but I have to close because we have another presenter. But God is serious about coming. He wants to come. But he wants the church to know that we cannot neglect the health reform message. We have to take it more seriously. It must be united with the gospel. For the 3 angels' message to reach hearts, God is saying we must unite with this. It will break down many barriers. And so I want to pray that we all will be true to this message and will do our part in spreading the 3 angels' message and the health ministry. The youth choir will be giving us a song, and after they would have sung, we will have our presenter, Dr. Morgan, who will be coming to share with us the reversal of diabetes. Let me pray with you as they get ready to go. Let me just pray with you. Father in heaven, help us to be true to this health reform message. Help us to be so more informed and to learn how to really do this work effectively and efficiently. Help us to prepare ourselves day by day for the infilling of your Spirit, that we may go to train others and teach others of these principles that we have learned and of the soon coming of Christ. Bless us now, we pray, in Jesus' name. I'm just going to ask Dr. Morgan if you're here, just to come at the front. Dr. Morgan? Dr. Morgan? Oh.
Follow to follow, follow thee. Lord, help me to follow, follow thee. The way I choose to take is not the best for me. The decisions I choose to make are not pleasing unto thee. My life has no meaning if for you I'm not living. So Lord, help me to follow thee. Help me to follow thee. Help me to follow thee. Help me to follow you. 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 Help me to follow you.
Help me to follow you. Help me to follow you.
Help me to follow you. Help me to follow you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Morgan, and I'm here to address the issue of diabetes. My talk this evening is Life's Aid for Preventing and Reversing Diabetes. Now, did you hear correctly? I said preventing. Did you hear I also said reversing? Now, that seemed like that's impossible, because we are generally told that once a diabetic, always a diabetic. Isn't that what we are told? So that means if you're married and you have a spouse, we the doctors just gave you a second spouse. Oh yes. Because if you're a diabetic and always a diabetic, that means diabetes is your second husband or wife. You ever thought about it that way? So I said my colleagues seem to be in the business of marrying more people than even the pastors or the judges. Because in most cases, when people come to us as doctors, whether as diabetic, hypertensive, whatever it be, we said, well, we are going to treat you for life. But if the truth be told, we are not really treating you. We are eating, most of us are eating you out for life. Now I'm going to be frank with you, I didn't say all. Most of us are eating you out for life. Because you know something? Why we do it? And why I said most of us do it, and why I said it's so true? How many times you've ever gone to the doctor for any ailment, come to us for any ailment whatsoever, and we identify the underlying cause in your life? We generally don't do that. You know what we do? We treat it like you have a leak on the floor, some water on the floor, and you call a plumber. And all he does is mop up the water for you. And you pay him. Next time, water is on there, which is maybe a month later or a week later, he comes and he mops it up, or maybe he sells you another mop. And he keeps selling you mop or mopping up, never stopping at one moment and said, listen, let's find where the water is coming from. You gladly conclude that that plumber is eating you out. Isn't that true? So why we don't believe that? Why you don't believe that some of us doctors, I didn't say all, some of us doctors eat you out. That's how we build the big houses, many of us. That's how we take the vacations, many of us. And I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't say all. And so this evening I want you to realize a few things. One, the whole issue about medicine is not in your best interest from the standpoint we as doctors start from. Because it's more about making money than preventing you from getting sick in the first place, right? Or reversing your ailment. That's number one. Number two, diabetes, like any other condition, can be prevented. It's not just hereditary. Not because your mother had it, your father had it, if that is the case, all your siblings have it, then you have to have it and live with it. It's not true. I'll tell you a case recently. About 2 months ago, I was called. I live in Havendale, if I may say that. I don't have to tell Uncle Sam that I still live in Florida because I have to file his taxes. And so I was called concerning a situation where the blood sugar, using the American scale, that's 400. Using the scale we use here in Jamaica is 22. You know what normal blood sugar is? 4.1 to 6.1. And I put it at 6.1, even giving a little leeway. Pre-diabetic is, say, 6.1 to about 7. Anything above 7, that's full-blown diabetes. In the American scale, would say 75 to 110, and again I said I even give a little play with that. It shouldn't really be that high. Anything above that, say from 111 to 125, that's pre-diabetic. Anything above 125 in the American scale, that's full-blown diabetes. And we're talking about fasting blood sugar level. We're not talking about when you just ate and then you go and take your sugar. We're not talking about that. That is expected that your sugar is going to be very high, especially depending on what you ate. So here this fellow, his wife called me, and the situation is his blood sugar is 400 or 22. His father has diabetes, his mother has diabetes, all his siblings have diabetes, and he's 50. When his wife called me, she said, okay, her cousin, first cousin, fellow doctor like myself, said, listen, I'm not against him doing some lifestyle changes and some natural, but we need to start him on insulin and get him on things, on another med for cholesterol, because his cholesterol was high. He was having some circulation issue, too, to be expected. And the fellow just wasn't sleeping. If he slept 3 hours or 4 hours for the night, it's like he got a long night's rest. And this wasn't just recently. His wife told me, said, listen, he was born and raised in New York. He said from his days in New York, he's been like that. And he's now 50. So it's like the fellow had no nerve. Now, how some insulin is going to help a fellow like that, mere insulin? It cannot. Let me tell you why. Because high cholesterol spikes sugar. So if you don't deal with the cholesterol to bring it down, you're going to be in big trouble. The sugar is just going to go down and go back up. It's like a seesaw. That's one. Two, how are you going to use mere insulin to keep the sugar down, to lower it and normalize it when the fellow is not sleeping, which is what? Stress. Stress causes him not to be sleeping. When he doesn't sleep, then it's more stress. And if you don't deal with the stress, the sugar won't stay down. You're getting the picture now? Not only that, the circulation. If he's having poor circulation, then that sugar is not burning either. So in other words, to address the sugar, to normalize it, you have to put him on a program. I did not say pills now, which can include pills. But it has to be a program that addresses the cholesterol to lower it, help him to sleep, so that his nerves is not as stressed out and then spike the sugar. And also the fact that you now have to also deal with the circulation issue. That circulation has to improve. 1 month later, his sugar was 5.8 without any drugs, any insulin. Today, his sugar is 4.2, 4.3, even after eating potato for his dinner. God be praised. It can be done. But it can't be done if all you're going to do is toss him some herb, some supplement, or some insulin or metformin or something of that nature. It cannot be done that way. Because I liken that to almost, it's witchcraft you're practicing. Because guess what? The underlying cause of the fact of the diabetes or any ailment is not addressed. Well, you might say, okay, Dr. Morgan, that is just an isolated situation. He's a Christian, he prays, and his people prayed, and the church prayed. Well, let me take you on a ride to Tampa, Florida. I live in Orlando, somewhat. Left Jamaica 40 years ago, and so I spent most of my years abroad in Florida. And so one day I got a call from one of our Adventist nurses, because I'd done some sessions for the Southeast Conference, some training program for their health directors. And so she said, Dr. Morgan, I'd like you to come and see my husband. Those were the days sometime when I make house calls. So I said, the first thing I said to her, I said, is your husband willing to change his lifestyle? And let me pause. You could be paying me $1 million. If you are not willing to change your lifestyle, no way, I am not going to even look at you. Let me tell you why. Because as an Adventist, I know I am not the great physician. I'm no physician really. Although by profession, by practice, over 30 years, I am a physician. But the true healer is who? God. Jesus himself, the great physician. Do you know in the Bible where is the prescription for healing is found? 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn. Hold it, brethren. Has to turn. That white bread, that white rice, that white flour, right? That chicken with all that cholesterol, hello, and even that snapper too. Oh yes, and any fish, and any dairy product, loaded with fat, loaded with cholesterol, that sugar is not going down, it's just going to continue going up. And finally, they send you to the dialysis machine. So I went because he consented. Over 30 years as a diabetic. Weighing 310 pounds. I jokingly said after I got through with him that I should have charged him for 2 persons because no man, that wasn't one person I was treating at all. However, so 310 pounds, what his cholesterol was? 280. Now normal cholesterol is supposed to be about 150 for him. Thank the Lord, the last time I checked mine, it was 136. He was having some eyesight problem. Walking was very compromised. But worst of all, he was taking 70 units of insulin in the morning, 60 in the evening, a whopping 130 units of insulin. One man, in sympathy for him, shooting up himself like that every day. And all the other men were telling him, now, I am talking about some medical doctors and some herbalists. Not talking about the one St. Thomas Xavier is noted for. Okay, when you give a person, all you're giving them drugs or supplement, you must be practicing witchcraft. I'm dead serious. And if you're willing to take it and bypass the lifestyle changes, then you also have consented to be practicing witchcraft. You say, where did I get that from? Remember what Samuel said to Saul? 1 Samuel 15:22. He said, rebellion is like the sin of what? Okay, do we have to go down that road? So that means when we are told, and it is brought to us, especially pertaining to our health, that we need to, that there are certain unhealthy lifestyle habits that are contributing to our ill health, and we refuse to change, but we are going to take a drug, a supplement, a herb, no matter what we take, that's witchcraft we are practicing. Because we're asking for healing in sin. So here it is that I put him on the program. I had to go to New York, which I did, and I was supposed to have another visit with him 2 months later, which I didn't. I saw him 5 months later, again at Southeastern Conference Camp meeting, where I was going to do some more sessions. And you know what he said to me? Came up to me and he said, Dr. Morgan, I'm a very busy man. He said, I've been calling you and I can't get you, but I know I had him in the hands of the Lord. He said, let me tell you what has been the result. He said, I lost 70 pounds in the 5-month period since I saw you, because I had to put him on weight loss. And that includes giving him some recipes. Right? So he's going to eat vegan now and at least know how to cook them. And that they should be very tasty too. So he lost 70 pounds in those 5 months, so he was now weighing 240. Still, too big for one person, but a big, big difference. His cholesterol dropped from 280 to 151, so that means that sugar is going south, isn't that true? Because overweight, which is fat, sends up sugar, cholesterol sends up sugar. Pressure was doing a whole lot better. He was walking like a young boy. He said, my sight is almost back to like when I was a child. And guess what, where his diabetes was? You think it was now from insulin to what, metformin? No, he was taking nothing for his diabetes because his blood sugar was normal. And whatever I had him on called medicine, as some of you would think, it was finished 2 months ago, but he was still taking his medicine. What was his medicine? Number one, trust in God. And that's lifetime. That's why it's called Life Sage. So the L is for trust in God. That is the major medicine, because the fellow was stressed out. What do you think is the best remedy for stress? Trust in God. Knowing, accepting and knowing that God is the one who made whose body? Our body. And he said he wishes above all things that we may what? Prosper and be in health, even as our what? Soul. So even spiritually we prosper physically. But not only that, the Lord said if we diligently, our part of the bargain now is found in Exodus 15:26. If we diligently hearken unto him and do that which is what? That means we have to see the snapper and leave it alone. We have to see the water and the juice and drink the water. Isn't that true? Because you see this thing? Water. It's one of the best medicine for diabetes. And I'll explain shortly. So love and trust, knowing that God made our body, not we doctors. Now let me tell you a little thing. Who do you rather trust with your body? We the doctor or God? Why God? Because whenever you get sick, who has to take care of you? God. Can you pay him any money? No. And he doesn't want you to get sick, because all of us here are Adventists and we have a work to do, right? And when we are sick, who can do that work? Nobody really. As we should. All right? So therefore, God is in the business that we always be healthy, so that the money that you normally spend at us doctors, what do you do with it now? Spend it to advance God's cause. Isn't that true? All right. So, but on the flip side of it, we doctors, many of us, and I can say most, are not interested in you being healthy. Because when you're healthy, we don't make the money we want to. No, I'm being candid with you. If you don't want me to be candid, I didn't say all doctors. I said some. All right? So because remember, we cannot bill those houses, take those vacations of checkups, immunization, right? And other little things you come in our office. It has to be diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, heart attack, stroke. That's how we make the money. So therefore, guess what happened? God does not make any money when you get sick. As a matter of fact, it ties up his cause. The pastor, just say, there's a pastor over there. What he has to come and do? Visit you now, right? Wouldn't God be pleased if he has to go to visit somebody else who is a non-Adventist? Isn't that true? Because he can minister to that person that's a lost sheep. Isn't that true? Or he could spend more time with his family. His wife would love to see him at home more often. Is that true, Pastor? Elder, is that true? Definitely. His kids would like to see him more often too. And I have 5, and I remember when they were much younger, sure, they would love to see me home more often, which I try to really make that time with them. So basically what I'm saying to you, love and trust is the first of the 8 medicines. The second one is the ideal diet. Genesis 1:29 and Genesis 3, when man sinned, God added vegetables. So fruits, nuts, grains, and vegetables, we are told by inspiration, is able to give what? All the nutrients our body needs. Is diabetes involved in nutritional deficiency? Yes, because it is a metabolic disorder. And so when we are diabetic, the body is pretty much stressed out to receive nutrients because the blood flow is not what it should be. Our digestion is messed up. All sorts of problems are going on. So nutrition extremely important. The next one is fresh air. Now, nutrition can also lower blood sugar. Isn't that true? Proper nutrition. Oh, sure. As a matter of fact, when I left Jamaica in '79, I could look at my American friends and said, listen, all that thing that you have about that sugar, starch causes diabetes is madness. No, I wasn't a doctor, but at least I know better than most of the doctors as far as diabetes is concerned. Because I'm from Watermount, St. Catherine, and just like any country area, they ate yam, banana, dashing, cassava, brown rice, you name it, 7 days a week, cocoa, you name it, 7 days a week. Where was the diabetes back in those days? Thought we heard that starch is what causes diabetes. Now, I'm not saying that starch cannot have any influence on the sugar, but that is madness. Starch does not cause diabetes, period, like that. No, because even in the starch kingdom, you have what you call complex carbohydrate and refined carbohydrate. They are not the same. So when you eat brown rice, your blood sugar just barely elevated if you are not a diabetic. You eat white rice, it skyrockets. Why? Because it has little or no fiber, plus the chromium is gone. And chromium and fiber are extremely important, right, in your diet to help normalize sugar. Same thing with white bread. Eat white bread, it skyrockets your sugar. Eat whole wheat bread, that some of you will call brown bread, it barely raises it, unless you are real hardcore diabetes, then sure enough, you have to be careful how much bread, how much even brown rice and whole wheat products you eat. But normally, right, for a healthy person or a person who just has a little blood sugar problem, those won't be a problem. And so when I left Jamaica back then in '79, right, we had very few cases of diabetes. Can I tell you that right now, it is apart from heart-related diseases, the next #1 condition? Oh yes. Diabetes afflicts more people, second only to heart-related condition. And it is like about the 4th leading cause of death in Jamaica. As a matter of fact, it's like 1 out of every 6 person here has diabetes. And it's faster growing here in Jamaica than in the United States. And let me tell you why. Has very little to do with hereditary factors. It has to do with lifestyle. When I left Jamaica, many of our folks back then, they easily lived 70, 80, 90, some of them 100, some never been to the doctor from they were born. Now that is not the case. Because our lifestyle has changed. We used to eat a little piece of chicken back then on Sunday, and it was like watchman on our plate. You remember those days? And it was from a common chicken. That took 3 years to get to 6 pounds. We call it the common fowl. You save it for the last because at least it would leave a little meat taste in your mouth. Because if you eat it too early, right, all that rice and banana and yam would take away the taste. Didn't seem like you even got chicken or meat for 1 day in the week. So you save it for the last. No, we don't have to save it for the last because we're looking at a plate loaded with chicken. 9 piece, 10 piece, whatever. And by the way, if I were to talk here about cancer, fibroids, and cervical cancer, let me say something to you. And I'm going to contradict some of the doctors. The number one cause of cervical cancer is estrogen. Number one cause of cervical cancer right throughout the world is excess estrogen. Likewise, breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer. As the chicken industry and the eating of it increases in Jamaica, what has happened over the years? Fibroids, hormonal imbalance, breast cancer, cervical cancer, uterine cancer. But that's another session if you invite me back. Now, back to the diabetes. So we have loving trust, ideal diet, we have fresh air. Did you know that air is extremely important for your health, but also for stabilizing blood sugar? Oh yes, fresh air gives you a calmer, mind and sense of well-being. Not only that, but the fresh air also helps you to burn the sugar because then you have more oxygen in the blood to burn the sugar. And without that oxygen, can that sugar burn? No, it's going to stay high because insulin alone cannot help to burn that sugar. Essential water. And this is where I reach for this. How many times you drink something sweet and you know, well, that was too sweet? Many a times, right? What do you do if something is too sweet? You add water to it and it dilutes it. Well, let me say this. Over 80% of the food we eat is converted to glucose, which is the simplest sugar that the body, and the only sugar the body can use. So whether it's sucrose, fructose, or what, the body still has to convert it to glucose in order to use it. Well, over 80% of the food that we eat, the body uses for energy, so it burns it. Now, if we don't drink enough water, what do you think that sugar going to do? Skyrocket in our bloodstream. Sure. But as we drink more water, what happens to the sugar? It dilutes, just like when you have a sweet syrup or, well, sweet juice or whatever, and you said that's too sweet, so what? You put water in there, it dilutes. It's the same thing. So water is one of the best things for diabetes. And there's no way you're going to get that blood sugar down without drinking water. Whether you're taking medication, whether you're taking insulin, whether you're taking herbs or whatever supplement, it still needs water to work with all of those in order to bring what? The sugar down. Another one is sufficient. Number 5, sufficient rest. How much rest do we need? Roughly about 8 hours. And at what time do we need to go to bed? 9 o'clock the latest. And if you're like Aunt Jane or Aunt Mattie, right, 50 years ago you're going to bed from the chicken now going to roost. You remember those days? That's why she had such good memory, right? I could lecture to you on Alzheimer's, that is another big one, but that lecture is for another time too. Point is, if we do not go to bed on time, our body is not able to produce the serotonin in the pineal gland. Now you said, what that has to do with diabetes? It's extremely important for fighting diabetes, normalizing blood sugar, because the serotonin helps us to handle stress better. Isn't that true? When we are not able to handle stress, what happens to our blood sugar? Sky high. So when we go to bed late, that means our body is not after 9, worse after 10, not to mention 11. That's the ungodly hours. What is happening is that we are unable to handle stress as we should because enough serotonin was not made, so therefore we burn the candle at both ends. and we get ticked off easily. So yes, sleep is extremely necessary to strengthen the nerves, to make the serotonin, and to do so much to our body to help with keeping the sugar from going high. Sixth one is always temperate. Overeating can what? Raise blood sugar, right? Drinking coffee raises blood sugar because coffee is a diuretic, isn't that true? And so it causes the body to lose too much fluid, right, in the form of urine, and therefore once you're losing that much fluid, what is happening to the sugar? You're not losing much sugar, so what's happening to the sugar? It's going up. Because it's like dehydrating something or removing water out of something that has sugar. Well, isn't it going to get sweeter? Right. Okay. Now, overeating, eating late, all of those things, eating between meals, I could really go into that, but in the interest of time, I just mentioned that quickly. Now, next one is, number 7 is the invaluable sunlight. That sun out there, some people, you Jamaican would call it Master God's sun. Extremely important to help prevent and reverse diabetes. Why? Because vitamin D deficiency is one of the things that escalate blood sugar. We found out over the years recently that once the vitamin D is low in the body, not only blood sugar goes up, diabetes goes up, stress goes up, hypertension goes up, stress goes up, cancer such as prostate cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, all the cancers, but especially those 4, skyrocket. So one of the major reasons black men are having that much prostate cancer, not only the chicken with the estrogen that we are eating and the low zinc in the food, but also lack of vitamin D. So vitamin D, that sunlight extreme. It increases circulation, it burns the sugar, it helps to the heart rate, it relieves stress, it does so many things that's related to benefiting your sugar getting normal. And last but not least, one that we don't do a lot is exercise. Exercise helps you to burn more of your calories. When you store the calories and not burn them, what happens? The sugar goes up. When you exercise, what is happening? You're burning sugar because you're burning calories. In other words, folks, the answer to diabetes is God's plan, a healthy lifestyle. Right? And yes, sure, you might have to take some meds for a little while. And I remember this fellow who came to me. I was practicing in Spanish Town at the time, many moons ago. This was back in 2002. His blood sugar was where he was, his weight was 336. His blood sugar was of such he was taking 75 units of insulin in the morning, 40 in the evening. Guess what? A year and a little later, he was on the radio. I was doing a radio program filling in for Dr. Ventures when he skipped from Hot 102 to Power 106. And so I brought him on. This was his report that he gave his fellow Jamaicans. He said, listen, during the course of being on the program, I call it God's program. Not Dr. Morgan's program, not your program, God's program. He lost over 100 pounds. So you know his sugar had to go down. 2, 1 week after, against my knowledge, my advice, he took himself off all that insulin. Now that's dangerous. I'm not kidding you. Don't take yourself off insulin just like that. But he did. Guess what happened? Over a year, he still had not taken 1 drop of insulin. And his sugar was normal. Normal to the point that he did another wickedness to himself. He went out one day, drank 4 bottles of soda pop, and lived to tell the story. No dizziness, nothing at all. Showing that his pancreas was once making insulin. What does the Lord say? If my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn that from our what? Our wicked ways. Meaning turning from the things that are destroying us because that is wicked. Then it said, then will I hear from heaven, will forgive their sin, and who will do the healing? The Lord said he will heal our land, meaning our body in that case. And that's why when Jesus healed anyone, what would he normally say? Go and sin no more, else what? Now, let me pause. However, there are some folks out there who manufacture, some of them, they manufacture, some of them sell the drugs, not all of them who sell it, who don't want you to know that. Because that's how they sell their drugs, that's how they sell their supplement, that's how they sell their herbs. But I'm telling you this evening, on God's plan, Life's Aid for preventing and reversing diabetes, your diabetes can be you can be prevented in the first place from having diabetes. That's one. Our lifestyle in the past proved that. Two, he said, though your sins be as scarlet, what? Exactly. That means once we are willing to change and we repent of those things that we are doing, that means now we are going to drink the water instead of the juice or the drinks. Oh, by the way, I didn't hear this, but one of our very well-known doctor went on television, I call it the Elevision, about a month ago, and he said that there is no correlation between the sugary drinks that our children are drinking, especially in the school, and the epidemic of juvenile diabetes we have. He just revealed himself and his fellow cohorts. You tell that to a dead donkey, and he might likely to get up and kick you if that was possible. No correlation between sugary drinks and diabetes. That tells you where the interest, where many of our doctors, not all of them, where they are. Their interest is in your what? Pocketbook called the almighty dollar. So therefore they will not tell you in most cases that, listen, a healthy lifestyle, number one, can prevent diabetes and any other ailment. And number two, it can also help to reverse it. So you don't have to be on drugs, on herbs, on supplement for the rest of your life. That is the message I'm sharing with you. However, I'm not telling you that now you should not seek medical help. Not telling you that. If you are that proficient in treating yourself, oh, that's all fine. But how many of us are? Most of us are not. And that's why we have the medical missionary class. Isn't that true? Because one day, let me tell you this now. Let me drop a bombshell. No matter, even if the insulin wasn't bad for your eyes, bad for your kidney, and remember, insulin and drugs, especially diabetic drugs, are one of the major causes for kidney dialysis. Oh yes, because they are very heavy on the kidneys. And so even if that were not the case, and again, I'm not telling you to go home and stop taking your insulin, your drugs, your supplement. All I'm saying, go home now and think of a better plan. Find a doctor who can help you, who can say, let's treat it from cause to effect, so that by the grace of God, one day you won't be coming back to me. Isn't that what you want? Right? Or a doctor who can say, well, listen, you don't need in the first place to have diabetes. You don't have to, because, okay, we are going to do X, Y, and Z. Now, all of this can be prevented. The Ministry of Health, led by Dr. Tufton, is telling us that they do not have enough beds at Mandeville Hospital, Spanish Town Hospital, Kingston, or even UC Hospital to put diabetics, cancer patient, hypertensive, lupus patient, and others. So therefore, they are calling upon us as Seventh-day Adventists who have over the years claimed to value a healthy lifestyle to lead the charge in setting the proper example. Isn't that true? What an opportunity to witness. What an opportunity to bring people into the Adventist church. What an opportunity to free up our pastors so they don't have to come to the hospital looking for us at home. What an opportunity for not tying up the elders and the deacons' feet in them visiting us in our sick state. What an opportunity to be spending less money on drugs and hospital bill and doctor bill, and therefore can finish this work. But in closing, before I take questions, soon there'll be no work done except through the line of medical missionary. Is that true? I'm going to drop another bombshell though. In the time of trouble, when we won't be able to buy or sell, where will you get your metformin? Where will you get your insulin? Where will you get your herbs? Where will you get your supplements? Ask yourself. Brethren, it behoves you and I to go home now, take up our ministry of healing. Well, Bible number 1, claim the promises there, but meet the conditions, that's number 1. 2, take up ministry of healing, counsel and diets and food, counsel and health, right, back to Eden, right, right in my backyard or whatever the name of it. And by the way, we'll have some recipe books if you because some of you are going to really want to change your diet and you might need some recipe. See Brother Brooks, who is in the crowd. Brother Brooks, put up your hand. He's right there. You can see him. Because I don't want you to leave here this evening and say, Dr. Morgan, you came here to tell us everything that is bad about what we are eating, even though I didn't get into that. No, but you didn't say what we can eat. So, I'm saying to you that even if these drugs were good for you and didn't have any side effects, and you notice when they advertise over the television or the radio, they tell you about 1 or 2 good use, seemingly in quote, but you hear like about 50 million side effects. That should tell you and I something. All right? Now, prepare yourself to work yourself with the help of a good doctor who is going to help you to bring your lifestyle in on a healthy platform. Don't go to one of those who I tell you is the obia man. That all he's going to give you is some herbs, some supplement, or some drugs or the insulin. That one is going to eat you out for the rest of your life. And that's not what you want. You want one, it's not a guarantee, but that you'll get well. All right? So prepare yourself now to find a doctor that is good like that so that you can one day leave his office and he can say to you, go and sin no more. Like what Jesus said. It is that what God wants for us when he said he wishes above all things that we may prosper and be in health. He said, I am the Lord that heals some of your diseases. No, all. Did you see a little clause here that says except diabetes? No. Because we are told that we should never be quicker to call the doctor than we are to call the lawyer. Question. Is there another mic? Or
Sometimes you go to bed early.
Mike. Something
Sometimes
1,
you go
2,
to bed
3.
early and you just cannot sleep.
She said, sometime you go to bed early and you just can't sleep. I'm wondering if she owe any obia man. No, I'm just kidding you. Just kidding you. Just kidding you. Your daddy didn't burn down a church either, right? No, I'm just kidding you. Now, yes, just like the fellow came to me, I had to find out what were some of the problems that prevent him from not sleeping, then put him on certain things, right, to help build up back his nerve, and so he's sleeping a whole lot better. Yes, so as a doctor, we have to be responsible, right? Sometimes maybe taking some, now after you remove all the animal products, don't leave here this evening and go eat no chicken or whatever and dairy and those things, and then now go drink that soursop leaf. Right? But that is a good one sometimes, especially when combined with the red peanut trash, right? Sometimes you might need a B supplement vitamin, right? B12 or B complex. It all depends. I'm not going to stand here and diagnose you because I don't know your particular situation, but sometimes just doing a few little home remedies, right, can help. But there are times when, yes, you definitely have to come to me or another doctor, right? Not the obia man now, all right? Who's definitely going to look at it from cause to effect and treat it from that. Genesis 1:29 with 80% raw. So fruits, grains, nuts, and vegetable. And Genesis 3, fruits, grains, nuts, and vegetable. No refined carbohydrate. All right? So if it is bread, it's supposed to be whole wheat bread. All right? And if it is rice, it's supposed to be brown rice. If it's going to be dumpling, it's supposed to be cassava dumpling, whole wheat dumpling, or good cornmeal dumpling, not the cornmeal they sell in the store, because not even rat want that one, because it has no much nutrient in it, or none at all. All right? Oh yes, I'll tell you this. You know how I know that? In 2000, I brought down my children, my 5 children. By the way, when I'm sharing this with you, I can say it from a standpoint that I know God works. I have helped to raise 5 children, age 21, 23, 25, 27, 29. And the last 3 have never been to the doctor from they were born until they were either 19 or 21. And I live in the state of Florida. All right? 2, for 27 years I have not paid a red dime in health insurance. Even though I live in a country that health insurance is mandatory or you pay the penalty. I've been living there since 79. 27 years now. It would have cost me over 600,000. Now he said that's not money. That's not Jamaican dollar I'm talking. I'm talking about US dollar. Could buy many mansions here in Mandeville. And not one dime over the 27 years so far. All right? Now, we homeschooled, my wife and I, we homeschooled the children until they were ready for college. I was more than Adventist. Never went out there to school one day until they were ready for college. I have a 29-year-old, the oldest one, and he's making $120,000 a year with Amazon in Virginia without a college degree. Because everybody had to get a trade, because trade is the backbone of any society. I have a daughter who is 25. Her first job on record outside of the home was nurse at Florida Hospital at age 24, and she never went out there to Walmart, Publix, and load a bag or whatever. Nope, you don't do that in the Morgan's house, because you're not going to handle in pork, cigarette, or whatever. No way. We are people of principle. 2 meals a day, nothing between but water or occasional juice. He said, come on, Dr. Morgan, when you turn your back, the children eat between meals and you didn't know. Well, ask Malcolm at the age of 3. We took him to visit his grandfather in Constant Spring, and his grandfather at 3 handed him a banana and said, Malcolm is now 21, and said, this you can eat, Malcolm. Malcolm looked at him and said, no, Grandpa, I do not eat between meals, because eating between meals is not good for your stomach. It can be done, brethren. No television in the home either. 30 years now. That's another lesson. And last but not least, brethren, the 2 meals would have cost us another at least $600,000. That extra meal, not 2 meals, that extra meal that we didn't put them on. You know how many people will look at you and tell you that they can't buy a house? And ask them why. Oh, they don't make enough money. Just tell them you ate yourself out of that house. How easily? Just let me give you the figures. In Jamaica, a family of 4 eats a third meal. Each person valued their meal at $500, so that meal now is a family of 4, that's $2,000. Multiply by 365 days, multiply by 20 years, at $14.6 million, that's a house that they ate themselves out of. Brethren, the Lord has given us a plan. We need to live by it. So back to what you asked, ma'am. Yes, Genesis 1:29, Genesis 3, right? And there, 80% of what we eat should be raw. Did you hear that? Otherwise, our body is going to get acidic, and that's what brings on cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, poor circulation. I could do lupus. I could go down the line. Yes. Yes, ma'am, and then I'll get you, sir.
Cervical cancer. So there is so many young ladies here. Can you give some advice on the link between estrogen? Do they need these cervical vaccinations, and how they can prevent these female illnesses?
Okay. I think you need to invite me to come back so I can address that issue. But in a nutshell, let me say this. Don't trust that which is coming from Babylon 99% of the time. You heard what I said? And I will tell you this, and I'm very candid, I'm very upfront. Many of our doctors and nurses were trained in the world. You said, oh, they were trained at Andrews and Loma Linda. Well, they were trained at Loma Linda and NCU. Where were most of our professors trained that teaches there? Whose accreditation system are we under? I'm not saying these are bad people. Not saying that for one moment. But just like how they are telling you all sorts of things that, well, listen, the very same doctors are telling you that, listen, once diabetic, always diabetic, you get these things from genes and whatever, yet we serve a God and we read a Bible that says, I'm the Lord that heal all your diseases. Cervical cancer is primarily caused by excess estrogen because we're eating a lot of food that are grown with growth hormones. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to show that in 1960, coming on to 70, we have very little cervical cancer. Then in the 70s, we started eating chicken that took 6 weeks, 16 weeks to get to 3 pounds. Oh, well, let me answer that question. Let me ask you something. And I'm just targeting you a little, right? You're my friend. We now know in Jamaica that although all the women are eating pretty much the same on a general basis, whatever their age group is, we have a lower cervical cancer, using cervical cancer rate among women, right, in their 60s, 70s, right, compared to women in their lower 50s and right all the way down to upper 30s, even though they are eating the same food. Why would that be so if it is vaccine or if it is HPV? If it's HPV, then listen, we should have the same cancer rate. And that's not the case is happening in Jamaica. In other words, we are seeing a higher cervical cancer, breast cancer, uterine cancer, right? And cervical, uterine, ovarian, and breast cancer in women from 35 to roughly 54 than women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they're eating the same, they're on the same diet, same lifestyle. Let me show you why. The person who is my age, 60 and above, grew up on a little piece of chicken on Sunday that was raised on crushed corn and cut up coconut and got a little piece, right, that was like watchman on their plate. That's one. The person who is from their 35 up to 55 roughly, they grew up on chicken 3 times a week easily. From chicken back to chicken, right? You see, that was raised on not crushed corn and cut up coconut, but growth hormones with soybean and corn and whatever to give you a 6-pound chicken in 16 weeks back then. Lots of hormones. We're coming to the 6th week. So that was the chicken that they ate from the 70s coming up in their childhood and youth age. Now, as a result of that, they're going to have what? More estrogen. Let's face it. The lady in her 60s saw her period at what age? Generally 16. No, don't tell me 15. Generally 16 and older back in those days. Right? The one who is 55 and under to 36, when did they see their period? 13 and 14. The earlier the period begins, is the greater the chance of cervical cancer, breast cancer, uterine cancer, and ovarian cancer. Let's go continue. Now we have the age group from 35 to 20. Their chicken took 8 and 10 weeks to get to what? 6 pounds. So what do you think is going to happen? Soon that age group will even surpass the 35 to 55 in the occurrence of cancer in their age group because they started eating the chicken earlier. They didn't just eat 3 times a week. They are eating 5 and 6 times a week and sometimes 7 times a week. And their chicken only took 8 to 10 weeks to get to 6 pounds. Woe betide those now who are below 20. And these are the ones, the 12-year-old, who are eating the chicken 7 days a week, sometimes 3 times a day, but their chicken now took 3 and 5 weeks to get to 6 pounds. The answer, ma'am, the answer, all of you, is not more vaccine, which is going to lead to more cancer, right? The answer is stop eat the animal product, especially the chicken. Black women, pound for pound, right? Black women have more cervical cancer, more hormonal problem, more more fibroids than their Caucasian counterpart. Hold it. If it was a HPV virus, right, caused primarily by sexual contact, wouldn't white women have the same high rate of cervical cancer? No. What do you say? What, don't they eat meat? Yes, beef is their thing. Yes, they eat some chicken. But chicken is the black people thing. Because we said beef is trashy. Isn't that what we say? So we don't like it. So when you go to United States, well, when you're here, you don't see much of the difference. But when you go to United States, right, you'll find that there are more Kentucky, more churches, not where you go to worship. All right? I'm talking about fried chicken place, more Popeyes in black communities than Burger King or McDonald's. And therefore, as a result, we have a higher case of fibroids, hormonal imbalance, cervical, uterine, ovarian, and breast cancer growing faster among us. But yes, you're not going to hear it from the drug company, because you'll get wise up. And you're not going to hear it from most of us doctors too, because why would we be treating you for cancer and not being able to make the money if we tell you that? So go home this evening and let's do better. Oh yes, definitely. He's asking if there's a relation between milk and breast cancer. Oh, there's a mic.
The first question is there a relationship between milk and breast cancer?
Yes.
How about mammogram and breast cancer?
Boy. Listen, you have to bring me back. I don't want to keep you like Paul, right? Like Eutychus. But no, but you eat some very good thing, right? Let me address the first one. Milk is a poison to the body after you pass age 3. We are the only species that drink milk past our childhood days. The animal is, and now when I say milk, remember now, soy milk is not milk really, right? Nut milk, none of the nut milk is really milk. They are really beverages. Milk is supposed, we just call them milk because they are white and we substitute them for cow's milk and other animal milk. Now, let me show you how dumb we are. I didn't say you are, because I used to drink milk too. I haven't eaten meat in 40 years. I've been a vegan for 31 years now, and I tell you, the Lord has been good. My health has never been better in all my life. One day I got crazy, and I walked from Willardine, Spanish Town to my office in Red Hills Mall. To God be the glory. I'm 60. February I'll be 61. And I did that last November. Well, I tested out these little BMW of mine one day, and I walked from, better, what they say, better me walk, right? Okay, that's a BMW, right? I tested it out, and I was able to make it easily from Spanish Town to Old Harbor. So one day when I show up here, you might ask me, Dr. Morgan, where are you coming from? I said, all the way in Avondale. What I'm saying, yeah, so back to the milk. So here we are the only species who drink milk in adulthood. Isn't that true? You ever see a grown lion, tiger, giraffe, cow, donkey drink milk? No, we have been duped by the dairy industry and by the medical industry, including the pharmaceutical industry, including we doctors, that you need milk because that's how we treat you for breast cancer, right? Uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, lung cancer, respiratory problem, sinus problem, diabetes. Oh, milk is one of the major causes of diabetes. High blood pressure, you name it. So we are making billions off you, right? So we encourage you to drink milk, all right? So yes, milk is a dangerous thing. So not only that, but have you ever seen a cow drinking a goat milk or donkey's milk? We are so dumb, and I say we because I used to drink the thing and eat the cheese. I no longer do that, over 30 years now. That now, because we drink cow's milk, which is a lower species, we now believe that man come from monkey and that two men can marry. And that when you're born, you're neither male nor female, you decide that. How dumb are we going to get? Only time will show. Yes. So now back to over to the mammogram. I could say a whole lot more, but over to the mammogram. Ladies, I'm sure you've been told that you should not allow anyone to hit you on your breast. Is that true? And rightly so. That's very good advice from us, the doctors. At least we advise you with something good. But you know, every time we give you something good, we take back something from you. All right? So here what happened now. You're passing your husband one day, and he's swinging his arm, ladies, or a friend, and he hit you on your breast accidentally, not intentionally. You're wrenching a little pain, and you go to the doctor later on, and he give you a clean bill of health. No damage, no permanent damage done, and whatever. But just tell your husband next time to be careful when he's swinging his arm, and you be careful when you're passing him. And that's good advice. So next year is your mammogram appointment, and you go in, and they take that precious breast of yours, and they clamp it in a device that you just rinse your face. Hold it, brethren. Look at it now. Last year, when you got hit on that breast, it was not as painful, meaning that much damage was not done, that what this clamping of the breast is doing now. Oh, so you're going to tell me now, because it is clamp, the body doesn't get any injury. No, injury is injury. Whether you meant it or not. It injures delicate cells in the breast, but it doesn't stop there. Whereas by accident you got that hit, now we, the doctor, turn on radiation on the breast. Oh Lord, have mercy. Have mercy. On damaged cells and cells that are not damaged, which increases your chance now, right? Clamping it increases your chance of breast cancer because that's damaged cells, right? Turning on radiation on it now increases it, but all that chicken, all that cheese, all that water you're not drinking, all that beef, all that stress, nothing is said about it. Just go home, and then next 5 years again, or next whatever, you come and pay us some more money. Then when you really have the breast cancer, they are wondering why you have breast cancer. They gave it to you with your corporation. That gentleman there, and we get down the back.
Yeah, Sister Graham had asked a question about sleeping.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it may be about 6 years ago. It was, I think, similar program that we have here, health program at Bull Savannah in St. Elizabeth. The presenter said something quite interesting about sleeping. Said that the hormone that causes you to sleep is known as melatonin. Now that particular hormone is produced somewhere between 9 to 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock there in the evening. Now, he says that light prevents the formation of melatonin. So the presenter said that it not only does that, but it slows down the aging process. Right. So he went on to say that people that works on the graveyard shift age 3 or 4 times faster than those who go to sleep between 9 and 1 o'clock, because the melatonin is not being produced during that time. And he suggests that the bedroom should have no light at all, drapes that prevent lights from coming in. Television should not be left on while you sleep.
That is true.
Because it prevents, prevents the formation of melatonin. And that is a great factor to the sleeping problem, because that special hormone is not being produced because of light. It's quite interesting, but that was said some years ago. I don't know if you'd like to comment on that. Yeah.
Let me jump on that one, and what he said is so true. The precursor for the melatonin, I'm coming down to the back, the precursor for the melatonin is what I mentioned. Serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter, like how you have dopamine, or you have GABA, or, you know, many norepinephrine and all. In other words, these are what we call brain chemicals that what happened with the brain cells, they do not touch each other. So they have what we call between them spaces that we call snaps. And brain, just like nerves cells, have to transport messages. So what they use are these neurotransmitters called serotonin, right, dopamine and others, right, to get the message from one cell to the other, brain cell we are talking, all right? So now the body needs to produce serotonin, which is your happy hormone. That is now converted later on to melatonin. This melatonin is also what, not in addition to helping you to sleep, but it also builds your immune system. That is why when we bleach a lot, when I say bleach, I'm not talking about the cream, but stay up late, what happened many a time? We easily catch a cold or the flu, right? Because the immune system goes through a nosedive because we did not get into bed consistently by 9 or whatever and so on. So he's definitely right. About the light, yes, we should sleep in a room that is dark as possible. Right? No light. Television light is one of the worst to even have in there. Right? However, there are certain things that help to form give us so that the body can make the serotonin, which, as he said, is true. It's only made between not between 9, but any hour once it gets dark, but it's not made after 1 o'clock. So if you go to bed 8, you still get a lot, right? But the latest should be 9 o'clock. Because if you go after 9, then the body is not making enough for building memory, building immune system, and so on. Right? Sunlight, extremely important. So exposing oneself to the sun in the day is one. There's a substance in food, a chemical, well, let's say chemical, not bad, but an ingredient, let me call it that, right? Called tryptophan. Tryptophan is one of the major things that the body uses to make the serotonin, and then use that serotonin to convert into melatonin. So banana is one of your food that is loaded with tryptophan. So if you're not diabetic, enjoy your banana. Oh, by the way, remember what they did to our coconut industry? You remember what? Are we willing to trust the same people? You see what they are doing to our ackee? Claiming that it causes, right, prostate cancer. Ask them how comes the Trinidadian and the African American have the same high prostate cancer as Jamaican men. The Trinidadian hardly even know ackee exists. The African American don't even know that it exists. So what, is the second eating of ackee causing it? Brethren, as black people, we don't get enough sunlight. Because my friend there, who is very light-skinned, he could spend 15 minutes in the sun and get enough vitamin D to serve him for that day. I have to spend at least half an hour, 45 minutes, because my pigmentation is darker, so it's harder for me to absorb the vitamin D. However, the reverse is now, if we go out there and eat cholesterol-laden food, he is more likely to get skin cancer than I am to get skin cancer, because again, right, the darker pigmentation would protect me in that case from more likely from the cancer than he does. So, you know, what I'm saying, yes, right? And with the low zinc, look what we black men are eating. And oh, by the way, what about the black pepper? What about the food that are low in zinc when the prostate need zinc as one of its major nutrients for its health? If you're deficient in zinc, your prostate cannot be healthy, because the prostate is about the size of a walnut, yet it uses 10% of the zinc. And when we have supper as men, we lose 70% of our zinc. It is not replaced with white bread, white rice, white flour, and chicken and those things.
So what gives the zinc?
Eating freely of fruits, grains, nuts, and vegetables, especially seeds like pumpkin seeds. Yes, down the bottom there. And then over here, let me try and alternate with sides. No, further down, further down.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
When I lived in the States, I noticed...
You were very unfortunate, just like me. Go ahead.
Yes, and I learned a lot, though, afterwards.
We learned a lot.
But thank God I'm a vegan now. Amen. For many years. When I was there, some 7-day Jamaican, this is not Florida now though, Jamaican Seventh-day Adventist doctors were all invited. About 50 of them were invited to a meeting on Sabbath afternoon once. And the people who invited them were from Weimar College, whatever.
Yeah,
Weimar
Institute.
Weimar Institute, right. Now, when the announcement was made in church, the so-called medical doctors felt very prestigious, and there was a sort of high-style walk. Oh, the doctors are going to have their retreat, their meeting, the medical doctors. They felt very prestigious. And so the rest of us just felt cheap and say, you know, nobody, we're not included, only the doctors. So weeks passed and the date came up. And the Sabbath morning for the meeting, Weimar came and said, the 50 doctors with their families was not enough because they had a big room. They wanted more people. So they said, okay, at the last minute they said, all the church people, like how you'd have all the church people here, you can come if you want. The doctors were mad because they felt that we shouldn't be a part of their meeting. Anyway, many of us went. I could not believe what I saw. When Weimar, they had some Ellen G. White Bible and some scientific studies on the screen. Weimar did not get up and say anything verbally. They just flashed information from the Bible, as I said, on the screen, step by step. And the only time they spoke was when a question was asked, because they would pause for questions. Believe it or not, when Ellen G. White's writing started to come out, she was talking about against drugs. Now, at that time, we, the teachers, knew what was going on because there was a set of Seventh-day Adventist Jamaican male doctors who insisted on getting gifts from the pharmaceutical companies. What they did, they gave them a vacation abroad, like this year to Germany, next year to Timbuktu, next year to wherever. They gave the entire family free trips, well paid for, if the condition was, if they would let their patients use their drugs. That was the condition. It was terrible. So Weimar got on this. Weimar was terribly frustrated with them. They kept begging the Adventist Jamaican doctors, do not give these drugs. They are dangerous. You're destroying God's people. You're destroying the world. We cannot bring them in as souls for Christ if you are destroying them in your practice, your medical practice. They would not stop because they were getting money out of it. Now, what the pharmaceutical companies did now, when they recognized that Weimar...
Can you hurry a little? Thanks.
Right. When Weimar now decided to stop, the drug companies decided to stop giving them these vacations. They started giving them free lunches for their staff every month, once a month, so they didn't have to travel anymore. And when the doctors came to that meeting, to make a long story short, when they recognized that Ellen G. White was talking against them thoroughly, the Bible was against them, everything was against them. The good scientific studies that were not biased or prejudiced were totally against them. You know what they all did? You can guess. They all walked out. Seventh-day Adventist Jamaican doctors. It was so stark and so miserable that evening. They walked out because they refused to turn. They refused to let God tell them what to do. And they just wanted to make the big bucks.
Listen, let me say this to you folks. Thank you. Let me say this to you. We doctors, there are some good ones among us, all right? I'm not going to use this to paint every doctor, use a broad brush. But what you and I have to realize, what you have to realize, when we leave medical school with a high bill. In US, we have lived for 40 years now, pretty much. Let me say this. The average youngster coming out of medical school is owing roughly at least $200,000 US in student loan. Now, treating you for diabetes the way Dr. Morgan treats you can't pay back his student loan. When you come to my office, I spend an hour with you, the minimum. And I am trying to get to the bottom of the cause. As a matter of fact, before you come, I have a screening done, and if you're not going to change your lifestyle, including going on a vegetarian diet, don't come to my office. You're wasting my time. And I'm going to drive you out there. And I mean it. If you come to me telling you have to eat your chicken or whatever, and worse, coming to my office, I'm going to say, leave here. Because how can I help you? The cholesterol is elevating your sugar. From that, the fat is elevating your sugar, and you want me to give you a magic pill? It doesn't work. All right? So basically, while all doctors are not rascals, we have some good ones out there. I will tell you though, when you're choosing a doctor, choose one that, one, recognize that your body is the temple of the Lord. Two, why choose a doctor who believes that even though, now you wouldn't choose a mechanic to work on your BMW if the mechanic believes that it's Ford that make your BMW. So why do we want to choose a doctor who believes that man came from a monkey? Our body is not monkey body. Two, right? The one that believes, yes, choose one that believes that God made your body, but also one that believes that, well, listen, that BMW, right, should a certain type of gas and oil should go in there. Isn't that true? So why do we go to the doctors who believe you can put chicken, fish, or whatever in your body and expect to get well? Basically, let me say this, folks. You have the power in your hand, not we doctors. You choose us, not we choose you. All right? So what you have to do when you go out there, research any doctor. You know how many people come to my office, late-stage cancer, colon cancer, and I ask them, what did the doctor say, your previous doctors? Oh, I can eat anything. I have a brother who died at 48 from colon cancer, right there in Alabama. Well, he got it in Alabama. He died in North Carolina. And would you believe it? Surgery. Not an Adventist. Wouldn't listen to me. 6 months of chemotherapy. And he would not take a mango or an orange from me that was conventional. In other words, that's not organic. Yet he was eating his organic chicken and his organic fish. Right? Resulting in my word now, organic cancer cells, organic cholesterol, organic viruses, organic fat, right? Waiting and lay waiting him an organic casket to put him in an organic grave, and that's exactly what happened. With sympathy for my brother, that's exactly what happened. So I'm not here to cascade doctors in a hole, but what I'm saying to you, brethren, right, there are many of us who went into medicine. It's not about your health, it's about our pocketbook. And therefore, just like how you choose a plumber, a good plumber, just like how you choose a good whatever, right, the same thing goes for medicine. You can just close your eyes and say, because the person went to you with Harvard or Yale and studied medicine, then they must be good. It doesn't work like that. Do your research on us as doctors and choose as the Lord's will. And if we are not going to treat you, right, with lifestyle, healthy lifestyle as a foundation, whether we are giving you drugs or herbs or supplement, choose another doctor. All right, let me wrap it up.
Sorry for the cut in transmission. We'd just like to inform our members that we won't be having a members meeting as was announced. So we will be having it on the 15th for the members meeting. However, our board is asked to just hang on for a while. I'll get back to you if that is also cancelled for another sitting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elder. All right. All right, let me take one up here. I didn't take any. Yes, ma'am. Okay, coconut oil is one of your best oil that you can use. Especially the one that you boil, at least you know well it's coconut oil. Isn't that true? Remember, you know, it's so amazing. I grew up in the country, and back then, at least 80% of what we ate, we grew ourselves. Remember those days? Bought a little sugar, which was just £2. You remember those days? right? When you get your tea, it tasted like the plane flew over and dropped the sugar in there, right? Jamaicans, older Jamaicans would say back then they just brackish the sugar, the tea. Hardly any. It wasn't like the syrupy that children are drinking today. All right? So that was what, 2 pounds of sugar to serve in a home where there were 8, 9, 10, 12 children. I remember we had this lady in our church, it's 20 children, she gave birth to, 17 were alive. Can you imagine? Maybe she only bought 2 or 3 pounds of sugar for the week, because that's pretty much what was bought in those days. Then a little flour. What was the flour for? To make dumpling? No. To bind the cornmeal or the cassava together, right, to make the dumpling. Remember that was the first thing we counted? Right, when we saw dinner on fire, how many dumplings we are going to get? Who didn't do it? I remember, and sometimes half a dumpling it worked out to be, or 1 or 1.5. When you get 2, it's like Christmas. Remember those days? All right? Is it? And so we bought a little sugar, a little flour, a little salt, and a little rice. The rice for the Sunday dinner. And remember, it wasn't a lot of rice because you couldn't buy rice to feed 10, 12 children. So you put banana to keep the rice in the plate so the rice wouldn't escape. Remember that too? And a piece of yam. Now, I'm saying that to say this, even the oil that we used then was the coconut oil. And that was good because we boiled our own coconut. We didn't have blender in those days because there was no electricity in the country area. So we grate our own coconut and we put a little annatto in there to give it that nice color. And sometimes some of that custard we eat it with roast banana. Come on. Am I the only one? All right. So remember those days. Those were the backbone of our health. So coconut oil, now we know. So when they wanted to dump their soy oil, their canola oil, their vegetable oil, and their corn oil, they went on a campaign to dupe us by telling us that the coconut oil has cholesterol in it. Hold it now. So here these so-called experts came to our church, and our nurses, our dietitian, and our doctors agree. Bio 101, let's go back to it. Only a liver can produce cholesterol. Isn't that true? Therefore, no plant product ever has liver in it. So how could it have cholesterol? We didn't figure that out because we rely on the experts. If the expert said it, that is true. Now they are selling us 1 pint of coconut oil for $1,500 after they destroyed our coconut industry. So they wipe it out, they dump their corn oil and their vegetable oil on us, and now when they make the coconut oil, because we don't know how to even grate coconut anymore or blend it, now we are buying it at the store now, the supermarket, for $1,500. Brethren, we can still go get our native coconut, especially, right? We don't have to grate it now, because most of us have blender. Blend it, and you can boil your coconut oil. Nothing wrong with that. The other day I went down to my favorite supermarket, which is Coronation Market, and I bought 12 coconuts for $1,000. I came home and I break them, I shred them, put them in my freezer. Yesterday, earlier in the week, I was cooking some pea soup, and sure, I took 1 pack of that out, put it in the blender, pour some boiling water on it, blend it, strain it, instant coconut milk. What is better than that? Because I don't buy those canned stuff, those packed stuff. They have preservative additives in it. This is God's temple. I don't put them in here. And I'm a man. Black pepper now. Black pepper eat out the prostate. We'll kill it. And when that little boy is supposed to go on parade, he just maybe can come up and go back down. Do you want that, men? Now, do you want that? Plus for the woman, and I know the wives don't want it either, right? You see, for the woman, cervical cancer, right, ovarian cancer, sure, dangerous. And it kills the nerves, right? It destroys the mucus lining of the stomach, causing poor digestion. I could go on and on, but that is enough. Oh, down the back there. Down the back. Boy, it seems like you don't want to let me go this evening. I opened too much can of worms. Okay, down the bottom there. Let's hear. Yes, exactly. Yes, I was just reminding it's true. Remember, one of the 8 laws is what? Temperance, right? So you're going to invite me back so I can continue. And that one will be affordable health care without insurance for all. That will be my next one. All right? Yes, ma'am.
Good night, Dr. Morgan. Is it true that you should eat for your blood group?
Oh, Lord, that is another one. Coming from Babylon again. Why? Is it true that you should eat according to your blood type? Madness, wickedness, everything that is bad. You hear my adjective? Let me say this. There is no science to that. There is no biblical. What are we told? That animals will be so diseased that it would not be safe to what? Take them in our stomach, and that it will be more than tenfold likely to what? Contract disease if we eat them. Now, part of that diet that you just mentioned to me about the blood type, right, said that certain people should eat beef, some should eat mutton, some should eat fish, some should eat chicken. Now, has God told us that we should get off these things? So how could God tell us to get off these things, and at the same time, right, he gave us a blood type that we need to eat those? God is not the author of confusion, so madness. Not only that, when God made man, he had all the blood type as soon as he had some children. Right? And for 2,000 years, God didn't give man.
The people from EJC, the bus is ready, I was told. Right? People from East Jamaica
Yes.
Conference?
I don't want you to walk to East Jamaica Conference like I walk from Avondale, right? All right? Yeah, so those of you who need to go to from East EJC, please, your bus is getting ready. All right, so I'm winding up, please. We have to do it. Yes, we have to do it, right? So yes, the question there, yes. So not only that, but can you imagine a lady who has 13 pitney, called children, and she has to cook according to their blood type, and she can't even read and write? I don't even want to go any further. And the Lord said, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health. That means health is not for her. It's for we the doctors and the expert.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask a question about lupus.
Lupus, yeah, my specialty. One visit generally for lupus. Go ahead.
Is lupus hereditary, or is it a lifestyle disease?
It's a lifestyle disease. And therefore, the medicine should be lifestyle medicine to reverse it, and it can be reversed.
That was
I've reversed many cases of
That was the
lupus.
next question I have. Can lupus be reversed?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm acquainted with 3 cases. One, the person passed from it. The other one, the person is on continuous medication that has, I don't know if it has stimulated or what, or stabilized,
prednisone is
or
generally one of the main
stabilized
ones
or
they put
what.
them on.
But that person has been on this for quite some time.
Yes. Yeah,
and
because the drug company making a lot of money.
And I'm acquainted with one that is recently diagnosed lupus.
Okay, yeah. Well, let me tell you one of my most famous cases with lupus, New York, East New York Church, and I can call the young lady's name. I don't stand here and call people's name without they giving me permission. All right? And so there was Barbara. I went and did a AY session like I'm doing this evening. And she came up to me and she said, Dr. Morgan, I heard you loud and clear when sun set and I was getting ready to leave. She said, no more meat, no more animal product, but what can you do for my lupus, which the doctor said there's no cure for? Now, how can there be any cure for that water on the floor when all we are doing is mopping it up, but won't fix the leak? So no doctor took her off the chicken and the fish, purify the blood and, you know, and whatever. I did that and said, for every month you'll have to see me for me to revise your program for a year. I did not see the young lady until at the Ambassador Church on Oakland Avenue in Fort Lauderdale, clean bill of health, no trace of the lupus. God be praised. Right? Since I've been here in Jamaica, I've treated many cases. I've not had a second visit and everyone is doing well. But if you're going to come to me, make sure you're not going to eat those stuff, else I can't treat you. Because Jesus is the one who writes my prescription. And the prescription said, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves, you have to turn. So yes, there's big cure for lupus, no problem. Right? 1, 2, and that is it.
I just want to ask 2 questions because in this very church, we have health people who come in and say black pepper is good, and if you're having turmeric, if you're having the turmeric, you must have a little pinch of black pepper in it to absorb it. That's my first question. Number 2, 2 weeks ago I heard Dr. James Markham in 3ABN said we have to be careful of coconut oil because of cholesterol.
Because of what?
Cholesterol.
Call him and ask him where's the liver he ever found in a coconut. Coconut or no plant product can ever have cholesterol unless this gentleman, myself, or somebody pump it in there. It is impossible. If they take out your liver, right, you can make no cholesterol. And cholesterol is extremely helpful for certain body function, especially the breakdown of fats, right? So what am I saying? That's madness. You should go study Bio 101. And I'm dead serious, right? Nothing but a liver, no brain, no kidney, nothing can make cholesterol. So the day that person shows me a coconut with a cholesterol, with a liver, I'll buy it from him. Next one. Black pepper. What does the Lord say to his servant Ellen White? Spice. What is one of the spice? Anything that irritates the mucus lining and the nerve is spice and should not be introduced into the system. Black pepper is deadly, right? The Indians, if you notice, the Indians are the ones who have the good curry. Isn't that true? Oh, yes. Don't buy Grace curry and these, most of these Jamaican curry. They have black pepper, most of them, and other harmful spices. Indians make the best curry, right? And Indians are known to have 1/4 of the cancer that we Americans have or in Western society because of the turmeric. So or could they have less cancer, less Alzheimer's, right? And they don't use the black pepper, and yet without the black pepper, our body can't use the turmeric. Madness, coming out of Babylon again, which doesn't have any sense. Bankrupt. So where do they get it from? Babylonians. Yeah, last one.
Type of detox, you put your feet in the water and...
Madness again. It doesn't do anything any good. It's robbery. It's taking your money.
We would love to understand.
Yes, another time when I come back.
Pastor, please just give us, because people have been asking me a lot of questions on that.
Yeah, let me say this. Any treatment, any therapy that does not take into consideration your lifestyle, right? And what you eat, drink, water you drink, your lifestyle in general, but is going to claim that they can detox you, they can heal you, is coming straight from Satan, even if the person means good. And that one is one of them. It does not take toxin out of your body. What they put in the water, ma'am. What they put in the water. That's not coming from out of your body. All right. I don't want to say anything more. I'll address it at another time. Thank you. It was really a pleasure, right? And you can see brother, oh, he's coming up. All right, come brother, you want? Oh yeah, so he has a few, he said he has a few recipe book. So don't leave this evening and say Dr. Morgan talk all the bad things about the chicken and the fish, even though I didn't tell you about the fish with the Band-Aid in it. Next time when I come back, I will tell you about the fish with the Band-Aid and why the hospitals are so strategically located in Jamaica by rivers and seaside. I will tell you some things about the fish. You might not want to bring me back, but I will tell you the next time I come back. God bless.